of moved amendments who are present, they have already spoken, so that's the end of this session. Head 26, 24, 59, 76, 79, 96, 100, 147, 148, 152, 155, 162, 180, and 181. The committee now proceeds to the fifth debate, and the debate themes are economic development, commerce and industry, financial affairs, information technology and broadcasting, and marine and aviation. The respective four policy areas covered in this debate are commerce and industry, economic development other than energy, financial affairs, information technology and broadcasting, and maritime and aviation. 11 members including Mr. Lam Kwok-hong, Chen Chi-chuen, Wong Yuk-man, Albert Chan, Gary Fan, Cheung Kwok-che, Sid Ho, Lee Cheuk-yan, Kwok-che, Claudia Mo, and Fernando Zheng have respectively given notice to move a total of 125 amendments to reduce the various sums for 17 heads, including the heads that have been read out by the Secretary just now. The contents of their amendments are all relevant to the areas of this debate. As the amendments, well, the first one to be moved would be moved by Mr. Lam Kwok-hong. He's not here, so I'll invite Mr. Raymond Chan to tell us more about the 61 amendments, and then I'll invite the other movers to speak. But then they are not supposed to move their amendments at this stage. Mr. Raymond Chan, as most members who are moving the amendments are not here, so I'd like to invoke ROP 17.3 to have a quorum count.
陳志全議員，請你發言以及動議第。
Mr. Chi-chuen, please speak and move amendment number 61. Yes, Chairman, I will move that amendment number 61 as set out in the script be passed. In fact, head 17 heads are involved, 125 amendments, and there are 11 members moving amendments, and I have moved 30 CSAs, and the heads include 28 CAD, 47 audio, 55 CEDB, Communication and Technology Branch, then 147 FSTB, 152 CEDB, Commerce and Tourism Branch, and then head 155 ITC. And I would first of all like to talk about the work of the CEDB headed by Mr. Greg Sau, especially the work of the Communications and Technology Branch. In the CEDB, there is the Secretary, the Undersecretary, and the PA. Mr. Greg Sau is paid $3.58 million a year. Last year, many people didn't know the Undersecretary, including the President, and the President asked him whether he was from the Environment Bureau, and the Undersecretary is paid $2.33 million a day, and then a year, sorry, and then political assistant. I believe the pro-government members know him, but he seldom contacts the Pan-Democrats. In fact, the political assistant should have, and also the Undersecretary and the Secretary should have come to have discussions with us on TV licenses and other broadcasting matters. Is he Chen Pak Lei? Have I got his name wrong? But these three political appointees have not done their political lobbying work. They haven't come to have discussions with us, and much of the work was done by a super secretary, Mrs. Fanny Law. Now I would like to talk about the work of the Communications and Technology Branch and the problems associated with the issuing of TV licenses, and that's why I've moved amendments 158 to 165, and these relate to expenses on broadcasting and incurred by the Communications and Technology Branch. Concerning free TV licenses, the matter started over 2 years ago. Every time I meet Mr. Greg Sau, he tries to tell me that in fact it was that it's in fact not his problem. He is not to blame. So the Bureau submitted a paper to the CE in Council, which was like a black hole. And after submitting the paper to the EXCO, the Communications and Technology Branch regarded its work as having been completed. Now, in fact, the Communications Authority also suggested that 3 licenses be issued, but then the CE in Council decided that only 2 would be issued. So there was a judicial review, and the matter is now back in the hands of the CE in Council. So Mr. Greg Sau may think that it's really something that he can do, and it's not his business. But I want to say something now about the issuing of mobile TV licenses. HKTV said that the High Court gave leave for a judicial review. And it was said that if the mobile TV services would be on DTMB mode, then there was a need to obtain a domestic TV program license under the relevant ordinance. So the CN Council refused to issue a free TV license to HKTV. So HKTV had to find a way out, and so it bought a mobile TV license, hoping to start its broadcasting through providing mobile TV service. But then HKTV was asked to make sure that the mobile TV service could not serve more than 5,000 households, or else HKTV would have to apply for a free TV or pay TV license. It was said that that was in accordance with the broadcasting ordinance. And HKTV said that in fact for mobile TV service it was not subject to the broadcasting ordinance. And so HKTV submitted a judicial review, and at the same time HKTV applied to the CA for free TV service. So you can see that in fact HKTV met with a lot of obstacles in trying to start a TV service. It first of all tried to apply for a free TV license, and then it bought a mobile TV license. Now, it was said that for a mobile TV license, it would be issued, but then the issuer of the license will not care as to whether the mobile TV service would be viable. So the CA was only concerned that the service will not reach over 5,000 households. At that time, the CA said that HKTV, in fact, tried to obtain a hawker license, but in fact he wanted to operate a big restaurant. So that was the impression that the CA gave to the public.
The fact is, when he applied for a mobile TV license, he wanted to be an itinerant hawker, but the government is of the view that now for those who have bought food from an itinerant hawker, must not bring the food to consume in a restaurant. Otherwise, it is an offense. What about the two free TV licensees, ATV and TVB? They do not have any mobile TV license, and yet their programs can be received by mobile devices. That means for a large restaurant, it can also be itinerary hawker. And according to the ordinance, no one can offer or provide mobile TV programs. So theoretically, free TV programs can be received with some mobile devices, because there is no change of money, no contract between the companies and also consumers. They have not breached the law. But if you look at the license conditions of ATV and TVB, it says that they must not provide mobile TV services. Well, these two stations provide free TV services, and therefore there is no need to offer anything to the audience. Does that? So what's the use of that China mobile TV license? So I think it is double standard on the part of the administration, since the 2 free TV stations cannot prevent people from using mobile devices to receive their signals, then how can HKTV prevent people from using fixed devices to receive their mobile signals? Although the Broadcasting Authority had asked Wai-yip to encrypt its signals so that the signals cannot be received in domestic premises. However, if there are over 5,000 domestic users that can receive their mobile signal, then it is against the law. No encryption can ensure that it can prevent more than 5,000 users from receiving a signal. So this is mission impossible. The ITC's performance is very unfair in this controversy. As mentioned by the community, it has really stepped beyond its line. Now, OFTA is under Mr. Greg Sau's bureau. It has double standards in enforcing the law, and the Telecommunications Ordinance and the Broadcasting Ordinance contain a lot of inconsistencies, and they are already outdated. First, it was stressed that BO and TO are 2 entirely different sets of legislation. So if the service is to over 5,000 designated users, then the service provider must be licensed first. This may sound to be legally sound. However, as netizens and HKTV criticize the government, and as we see how the BA has favored ATV and TVB, we feel that the explanation by OFTA or the Office of the Communications Authority, OFCA, is very unreasonable. I think they have overinterpreted the provisions. They can misinterpret the provisions very easily. They mislead the public. They just want to mention things that they like and skip things that they don't. There are a few press releases, and such misinterpretations exist. What do you mean by suitable for a signal suitable for mobile broadcasting? HKTV intend to use a DTMB instead of CMMB as technology, and as a result, 5,000 specified persons premises will be able to receive that signals, and this signal is just suitable for a fixed broadcasting or communicating. And according to the office, the parameters are just the same as that of ATV and TVB, and therefore HKTV signals can be received by domestic premises, and therefore it is against the law. As for ATV and TVB, their signals can be received by mobile devices, and it is not against the law according to the office. I just want to point out the inconsistency here. The national standard specifications of the PLC mobile DTMB is not a dedicated signal for mobile reception. The higher the QAM is, that means more information can be transmitted within the same spectrum. And there are higher requirements for the strength and stability of the signal concerned. I will not elaborate further, but you can see that this technology, DTMB, doesn't mean that DTMB is just suitable for fixed reception. Whether it is suitable for mobile reception will depend on the power and also the number of transmission stations. So just a small example, you can see how OFCA has been direct in its duty and partial in treating this matter. Mr. Albert Chen. Thank you, Chairman. Economic and commercial and economic development, FSTB, marine and aviation transport, innovation technology. There are 152 amendments altogether, and I am responsible for 50 of them. The CAD, the FSTB, the Trade and Industry Department, the ITC, and also the CEDB are involved, and I plan to cut the pay of the staff of these departments or bureaus. I've said a number of times that I'm very angry that this aviation department under Amendment 67 had 28 to cut $2.64 million equivalent to the full year pay for the Director of Civil Aviation. Over the years, I have lots of contacts with the CAD. In particular, after the commissioning of the Cheuk-yan Airport in the first 10 years, we petitioned at the airport almost every year to petition against the aviation noise. Hong Kong's laws are very strange. The ENB is responsible for control of air pollution and noise from air conditioning, from traffic, from plant and machinery, and yet aviation noise is not controllable by the ENB. And we don't have legislation to regulate aviation noise. So we criticized the CAD for working for airlines, how low and how high aircraft should fly, because aviation noise is dependent on three factors. First, the model of the aircraft concerned, and second, the speed of taking off and landing of the plane, and three, the height of the flight path. If you know the subject well, you will know that some aircraft may be over 7 feet high over Mile 1. Some are just 6,000 and some are 6,000 at different heights. The noise could be different. Of course, there are a number of factors affecting the height of the aircraft. Perhaps the airplane is heavier, and because of some other things in San Francisco, they have this law. The air path is designated. Deviation from it will be subject to a fine. In Hong Kong, we have designated air path, but even if you deviate from it seriously, I think the CAD has been very lenient in punishing the aircraft, and as a result, pilots are not very keen on following CAD's directions because there is no penalty, and when there is a problem, CAD will investigate and deal with it, but very often no information is released afterwards. We've asked for such information many, many times, but to no avail. as if air traffic control is a private club of the CAD and airlines. We can never understand what is going on between them. The public may want to know more how the CAD deals with aviation matters, and yet we don't have any information to do this. Recently, the CAD is frequently reported by the media. They within the CAD. CAD is just like an independent empire under the leadership of the Director of Civil Aviation. They have become a club for transfer of interest and to collude and to cover for one another. It's just like Xi Jinping's group. Hong Kong is no inferior to that. In Hong Kong, there are similar small circles. Under the leadership of the CAD, many things have happened, and perhaps those who are not in their circle felt rather aggrieved. Some complained to the ICAC, some to the media, pointing out the various problems of the department over the years. And after these reports, the Audit Commission also follow up on matters of value for money. Now, in an open document, the Audit Commission has pointed out the problems of the department. And perhaps that's just the tip of an iceberg. But this information alone is sufficient for me to cut the whole year pay for the director that is under Amendment number 67. What are the sins? First, without prior approval, the director built an extra 1,500 square meters of space, and that is is approved 2,400 square meters. We all know that we have a lack of GFA in Hong Kong. Whether it be SDUs or government departments or offices, because there aren't enough office space within the government, many departments have to rent premises in the market.
But then the CAD is now getting some 30 or 40,000 square feet of space for its use. So it's absolute wastage. And also with regard to the construction of a bathroom and a shower room for the director himself, all right, his explanation was that he had to attend banquets and so on. But then, well, for bureau directors, yes, they have their own bathrooms. And, well, we understand that, during the former term of government, there was a bureau director who had not been using his personal toilet too much, and as a result, we had Legionnaire germs found. And also, with regard to the observation track, it's been changed, and it was turned into an area for staff to play Tai Chi. So it's like a staff club, and then their cronies can also use it. So even if it's used by the staff, it's not appropriate, because for the public, they are short of open space. It's not just about open space. They don't even have any space to sleep and use. But then the director can be so extravagant to make use of his public power and public resources to convert the space without authorization and turned it into his own recreational space. And fourthly, without authorization, he changed the design of the common room for the staff. Instead of 120 square meter, it was enlarged into an area with an area of 131 square meters. Well, this is comparatively speaking a less serious problem. So apparently, as a director, he thinks he can do whatever he wants. So it's like Donald Tsang, because before he became the chief executive, he was more prudent and cautious, and during the early years, he was also trying his best to restrain himself. But then after becoming the chief executive, probably he's been watching Koi too much. That's why he thought he was king. And the director for civil aviation was the same. He felt that it's an independent kingdom and he's the king in the department. But after 1997, with the 17 or 18 years since the reunification, it's become more prevalent. That applies to this DAC as well as the CP, the Commissioner for Police, and he said that to require the police to apologize is like telling stories of the Arabic Nights. So when we were small, we used to call the police or the cops the rock police, and they had black feet because they had a lot of underhand dealings. And for the fifth crime of the CAD, without the FSTB's approval, they spent $67.54 million on their own security system. So again, they just felt that they could take charge and decide whatever they wanted. The CAD was questioned about the appropriateness of procuring the devices because it might have been too extravagant. It exceeded the standards. And also with regard to the LED displays, there were too many because the initial plan might have been to procure 50 or so, but then in the end they bought 130. So they had the money and then they just spend it. And also for the ratio and the wastage was very serious, ranged from 121 to 123. And also they spent $560 million to replace the air control system, and still the system has not been commissioned. And this is one of the more serious charges, because out of the charges leveled by the audit commission, well, they might not have yet been able to get to the bottom of the truth, because I've also talked to some former CAD officials, and if you look at the tendering process and also the selection process and the decision-making process, so it's a complete mess. Because I personally suspect that there must have been some form of corruption involved, because the whole process was anything but normal. Because if you look at the systems being chosen, some has never been tried out before. Well, only in some Indian remote airports that the system was being tested, but still it failed. Because if you look at the air control system or aviation control system, it would affect aircraft safety, because air traffic control system is very important, because any failure could lead to serious aviation disasters. So I've repeatedly asked the panel to discuss it. In fact, when I asked that the panel should discuss it, the audit report was not yet out, and after the matter was delayed for some 6 months, and with the publication of the audit report, the whole thing was referred to the PAC, and therefore the EDP did not discuss it. But then, with regard to the air traffic control system, up till now, it's still very much outstanding. It's not resolved yet. That's why within the civil aviation sector, if anybody had any information, please do contact the Audit Commission or the ICAC, or even me if you trust me, because I'm very worried, because sooner or later we're going to have the biggest aviation disaster because of this, because of the delay and also the blunders on this. Because if you look at the hardware and software, it's a big problem because there is no proof whatsoever that is going to work. No airport has ever used it, and the system has not been proven to work, and it's very expensive. And therefore, if you say that there is no corruption involved, then I would not believe in it. In fact, some former officials are now working for this company, so it's a directorate grade officer. So if you do not have any skepticism about that, then how can that be? All right, I'll supplement that later. Mr. Gary Fan. Mr. Chairman, I'm speaking on Amendment 527. I'd like to elaborate on the justifications for my amendment, and I'm going to cut head 152, the CEDB, that is a commerce and tourism sector. Subhead 000 is about the whole year spending by the Tourism Commission on the mainland. Some $40.8 million is involved. Well, as a new member of this council during this term, with regard to the IVS, the individual visit scheme, I was one of the earliest one to criticize it. As early as October 2012, I already repeatedly raised that, and at the time, the Tourism Board already had to spend some $27 million to promote Hong Kong on the mainland. But then during the last few years, if you look at the visitors under the IVS, the figures have been rising. In 2014, if you look at the total arrivals, well, it exceeded 60 million, and the Tourism Board not just did not cut its spending on the mainland on promotion. In fact, it's trying to increase it. And this year, you're talking about some $40 million to be spent. And it would account for some 1/4 of the total spending by the TB. But then if you look at the developments over the past few years, you can see that it's clear that the Hong Kong community finds it difficult to cope with the ever-rising arrival figures. And even Sau-lan started to change his stance a couple of months ago. He's talked about the impact on people's livelihood caused by these mainland visitors, and repeatedly he said that he would take it up with the mainland authorities to review the IVS, and he even sounded out that he would be trying to cut the figures by some 20%. And yet, if you look at the acts of the Tourism Board concerning the ability of Hong Kong people to cope with the situation, and also he tried to say that well, the direction should not be changed. So he's using Hong Kong's taxpayers' money and hard-earned money to promote Hong Kong on the mainland. I think that's problematic. Well, Chairman, in this year's budget, the FS said that the tourism sector would account for for some 5% of the GDP, and therefore is providing jobs for some 270,000 people. But then I have to point out that for such jobs, most of them are low-skilled jobs. And therefore, for those working in the tourism sector, the average wages would be the lowest in the 4 pillars. And the government has been saying that the tourism sector is providing a lot of jobs for the unskilled workers in Hong Kong. But then if you look at these jobs, they are not really able to improve the livelihood of the grassroots workers. I can give you some examples. Well, taking tourism as an example, well, according to the C&S department, well, in the retail sector, the total retail volume since 2003 up to 2013, it went up significantly by 158%. But then if you look at the actual situation during the last decade, for the retail rentals, it went up by some 700%, so it went up 7 times. And then for the conventional small shops, because of the high rentals, they have to close down, and they've been squeezed out of the market. And then the workers can only go to the chain stores to work. And also for many stores, because of the high rentals, the money has gone into the hands of the landlords and the large corporations. And therefore, if you look at the hourly wages for the retail sector is just $44. So when compared to the median wage of $60, is still a far cry. So the administration has spent a lot of money by promoting Hong Kong on the mainland, and yet at the same time it has not been able to really ensure that the benefit brought about by the tourism sector can benefit the community at large. On the other hand, Hong Kong community has to put up with the nuisance caused by these visitors, and the remark that tourism sector is offering a lot of jobs, I don't think that argument can stand. The tourism board, in terms of its promotion strategy, it is attaching too much importance to retail and catering and shopping, and as a result, visitors would be adopting this very monotonous approach in their shopping and behavior. And an additional $70 million has been given to the Tourism Commission so that it can step up its campaign on promoting Hong Kong as the only destination. But then they would just be working with the catering sector so that they would try to boost spending. For example, last month, they have started this campaign to offer more concessions and discounts to visitors so that they can spend in Hong Kong, and such activity has not been able to yield much result. And according to some media agencies, with regard to these discounts being offered, many of them are just old wine in new bottles. So they just modify some of the existing offers. In fact, they are not really very attractive to both visitors and local residents. Mr. Chairman, a long time ago, the State Council already announced that starting from next month, they would be reducing the tariff for some overseas daily necessities, and also for fashion and also some daily necessities. Their prices would come down because they'd like to boost spending on the mainland, and also some mainland industries would also have to upgrade themselves. Of course, he was referring to some contaminated food items and also some counterfeit goods and so on. And if they do not change it themselves, then there would be pressure from overseas governments. That's why, mainland authorities, mainland authorities' policies would also be adjusted in accordance with their needs. And if we just tailgate them, if we just blindly promote IVS visitors doing shopping and eating in Hong Kong, then Hong Kong's retail sector and hotel sector would be caught by surprise if things change. In fact, according to some merchants, they said that we should not be putting all the eggs in the same basket. But then if you look at the Tourism Board or the SL government, when they do publicity, they would be moving in that direction. And if you look at the campaign organized by the Tourism Commission, they've totally ignored Hong Kong's capacity. For example, in Ma Wan, in order to echo this campaign, they tried to offer tickets so that when you buy 2 tickets, you get 1 free. And in the end, what happens is that for the external traffic outside Ma Wan, it was paralyzed.
All the piers, all the bus terminali, were extremely crowded. Ma Wan residents had to wait for an hour before they could board a non-franchised bus or a ferry to the urban area. Now, Ma Wan is a residential area, and there are no buses, no other modes of public transport. But then, because of the Tourism Board's promotional activities, Ma Wan and other areas will become extremely crowded. So the Tourism Board really wants to see an increase in the number of visitors. It doesn't care whether the various districts or scenic spots are able to cope. In March this year, a Guangdong Institute carried out a questionnaire survey on the internet, and 70% of the respondents in Guangdong said that they had been to Hong Kong in the previous year at least once, and out of the 11 destinations, Hong Kong did not rank very high, and only 7.1% of the respondents said that they plan to visit Hong Kong in the following year. And in fact, they also said that, in fact, the main purpose of their traveling in the future would be leisure instead of shopping. But of course, the pro-establishment camp keeps blaming the protesters, saying that because of their protests against parallel goods traders, we now end up having fewer and fewer tourists. But in fact, I think our policy is flawed. In fact, in the mainland, there was an article saying that Hong Kong was a place that was not worth visiting at all. The writer said that, in fact, he used to watch Hong Kong movies and Hong Kong TV drama series, but when he came to Hong Kong, he discovered that there was nothing special at all about Hong Kong, and what he could see were only drugstores, pharmacies, and people or visitors came to Hong Kong to buy cosmetic items and other items. So then the snacks were not attractive, and he said that, in fact, for people who were rich in the mainland, they would not want to spend the time traveling to Hong Kong, and for the those who could not afford to spend too much, they of course they would not be able to contribute too much to our economy. So many in the mainland are beginning to think that Hong Kong is a place that is not worthy of visiting at all. But then the tourism board keeps saying that in fact, mainlanders like to go to Hong Kong, and they talk about the reasons for mainlanders preferring Hong Kong as a destination. I think the Hong Kong SAR government and the tourism board are only against, or only seeking quantity, not quality. They only know how to lure mainlanders to come to Hong Kong to shop. The SAR government hasn't tried to develop tourism in other aspects. We can't just concentrate on developing shopping. In fact, there can be other forms of tourism, heritage tourism, ecotourism. Now, the World Economic Forum has just published the Tourism Comparative Report 2015. Out of 141 countries and regions in the world, Hong Kong ranks the 13th. In fact, previously we ranked the 15th. But then you can see that concerning roads, ports, infrastructure, we rank first in the survey. This is because an astronomical sum of money has been invested by our government in infrastructural projects like the XRL. But then concerning heritage, cultural heritage, how many marks do we get? 0. This is really alarming. So you can see that our government only knows how to invest in infrastructure, and it pays little attention to cultural heritage. And as a result, Hong Kong has lost many heritage sites. And in fact, there was the Hague Declaration, which said that while tourism is developed, we should also respect the heritage sites, and we should also look at whether the scenic spots are able to cope. So there may have to be some restrictions during certain times of the year, for example. So while we develop tourism, we must not ignore the ability of these scenic spots to cope, and tourism must not be developed at the expense of the quality of life of Hong Kong people. Chairman, the SAR government has wasted a lot of money to blindly attract mainlanders to come to consume, and all these has been done at the expense of the quality of life of Hong Kong people. And so I think the $40.8 million for the tourism board should be deleted, and I think the tourism board must not continue to hinder the development of tourism in Hong Kong. Mr. Cheuk-yan. So in this session, we are dealing with amendments on air transport, financial services, and I think I need to delete the item under head 100 concerning Marine Department and the replacement of vessels. Now, we are not against the idea of buying new vessels, but I want to say that the FSTB took out this item from the agenda of the Finance Committee, and so I am moving this amendment in protest. In fact, this is not a controversial issue. We have no objection to the Marine Department's replacing old vessels with new ones, because new vessels are more efficient. In fact, there are many questions that we would like to ask about the new vessels. For example, their purposes, but then we don't have any officials here to answer such questions. So in fact, these questions should have been asked and answered in the Finance Committee. Chairman, I did ask you whether officials will be present to answer our questions. Yes, there were officials, but they were only like scarecrows. They they just sit here. They do not give any response. So in fact, the officials are telling us that they are boycotting our debate. This is regrettable. These officials don't even want to give us replies. The officials have chosen not to respond. Now, I will not ask questions about these vessels because there's no use asking the questions. Now, in fact, we want to know how old the old vessels are and why they should be replaced. But then even if we ask all the questions, we won't get any replies at all. In fact, the matter should have been discussed by the Finance Committee. And also, this debate is on financial services. And I want to say something about the work of the Bureau. I want to cut the salary of the Secretary. The SFST, when he was in the chamber, I told him that he owed us something. And that was in relation to the offsetting arrangements for severance pay and long service payment. Now, this is a long-standing problem. There have been piecemeal improvements to the MPF system, but still the administrative costs are really too high. The administrative fees are too high. We are told that there is a core fund and the administrative fee will only be 0.75%. But then will the return be higher than the 0.75%? We don't know. We have been asking the administration to introduce one additional product to MPF, and that is the exchange fund product. In other words, the exchange fund can make the investments. It's true that in certain quarters the EF might not perform very well. But in the past years, there was some regular dividends from the exchange fund to the treasury, and the rate was pitched at 6%. And then it was said that MPF would be portable, but we only have semi-portable arrangements at the moment. So I think the Bureau hasn't done its job with regard to enhancing the MPF. And the SCS is here. We did ask him that we asked him about 011. That's about reducing expenditure by 1% in the coming year. I don't know whether electrical will be affected. Now this FSTB is really difficult to understand. This year the surplus is not $60 billion, it's over $90 billion. You know, the our treasury has a huge sum of money, and I believe there will be a surplus for the treasury again next year. So how come it's 011? Now of course you have to adjust the staff pay, and so how can you reduce overall expenditure by 1%? I think you will continue to employ more, recruit more people for the police, and so you may decide not to fill vacancies in other departments. So SCS, is it that bureaus and departments will make use of such tactics to fulfill 011? Now, why is it that you have to cut expenditure and manpower when there is surplus year after year? And then is it and what's going to be the impact on social welfare organizations? What's going to be the impact on education? So if for social workers there is 011, and you know, because under the lump sum grant, then the new recruits who are on contract terms will suffer from pay cuts. And then for the Education Bureau, now you can't cut the pay of the teachers. So where can you cut the expenditure?
So it is outrageous that you have to introduce this 011 saving requirements. However, there's a strict direction from the administration. There must be a 011 savings achieved, and when you have new services, you have to bid for new money, and they are trying to get money for to tackle cybercrime. We're told that cybercrime would mean patrolling the beats in the cyberspace. We don't know how much resources will be required. Would turn the police into a state machine for maintaining stability on the mainland. They have many people controlling the cyberspace. Will we do the same in Hong Kong? And this is one of the factors that make things more unfair in the administration. So the 011 savings requirements would do a very strong blow to the whole administration. And yet the administration has no intention to retract this decision. So when are we going to discuss next year's budget? This year, because we refused to meet Sau-lan, the FS refused to see us. And what about next year? And there are many issues not faced up to in this budget. For instance, there are new tricks. We expect an answer from the administration, and we hope that there can be a dialogue so that we can ensure that the budget can allocate resources to the whole of Hong Kong in a rational manner. When we discussed the budget, we could talk about new money available and how it could be spent. But nowadays, we don't know what new money will there be, and everything is decided behind closed door, and legislators can play no part in it. And the FS Secretary for FS&T is responsible for the following thing. He has bypassed LegCo, and he said for sure that LegCo will not be involved, and that is the establishment of a future fund. It is said that it is an administrative measure and no LegCo blessing is needed. And if money has to be taken out from the future fund for LegCo's approval is needed, but we already have the land fund. Out of the blue, you have this future fund. You have not renamed the land fund, the future fund. So you say that you need to set up a future fund to care for our aging population when you are turning a blind eye to the pressing and immediate problems we have. Because our population is already aging, we have a medical problem and also other needs. So the government has no plan for the future, and it has invented many different drawers for money. Some of these drawers are locked, and the money will not be used now, and therefore no LegCo approval is needed. And for other things, the retraining fund, for instance, another $5 billion has been injected, and the investment return will be used every year. But why have you decided to lock up the money? Why don't you allocate money according to needs on an annual basis? It must be because the government has so much money that decided to lock it up in different drawers. You can count. I don't know how many drawers the government has now. So is it the fiscal strategy for the Bureau to lock up all money we have now? And meanwhile, it tightens its purse string, asking different departments to make savings at the expense of service quality. This is what the government is doing, and I fail to understand the logic. We're told that in the future there will be plenty of problems, and in the future the population is very aged. But what we do now will not help the future if we do not address the issues now, if we do not prepare for, elderly services right now, then we will have more problems in the future. The style of the government is it doesn't resolve the problems now and fantasize about possible problems in the future. Now, because you are not coping now, I'm sure you won't be able to cope in the future. So it has no intention to resolve the immediate problems, and it is doing a lot to aggravate current problems, and we don't know what it will do for the future. Regrettably, we only have the Secretary for the Civil Service here, and he is not going to make any reply. This is just a scarecrow. Well, perhaps we should have a cardboard officer here or secretary here. They may not be listening. They may be playing games. they have decided to boycott LegCo's debate in this way. This is very irresponsible, and as a result, there is no interaction between the executive and the legislature. And now, this debate has become a talk shop for Hong Kong people, but I won't feel happy about this, because we are just burning ourselves, and unfortunately, our discontent, our questions, our queries will not be answered by anyone from the administration here. And we have put on record our questions, asking the administration to address them, but unfortunately the government has not done so. Mr. Zhang Kwok-che. Thank you, Chairman. In accordance with RP 69.3, I move CSA number 121 to cut $3.2 million from Head 47. That is the provision under the OGCIO for Enrichment IT Program in Secondary Schools, project number 894. This item is supposed to be approved by the Finance Committee. However, in order to get the proposal for the ITB passed, the administration has deliberately tacked this item to the budget, and I think this is disrespect for the Council. This item should have been vetted by the Finance Committee so that it can be dealt with in its normal manner, so that members can have deliberate on this proposal and can also give suggestions. Although the administration will support IT projects under the IT enrichment program, every week there will be an extra 2 to 3 hours in ICT subject, so as to enhance training of IT talents in Hong Kong. However, the government will only consider the track record, the results of public examination, and also other things of schools, and picked 8 schools out of all the schools in Hong Kong. So it will only pick the cream of secondary schools in Hong Kong, and only those schools that have performed very well will receive more subsidies than their counterparts. The chairman of the subsidized public sector aided schools council criticized this program because this will further widen the gap between elite schools and ordinary schools. So is the government's intention to raise ICT standard of secondary school students, or to only nurture elites? And this is about the education direction or strategy. In primary schools, ICT is incorporated into the subject general knowledge. And in secondary education, there are ICT lessons. And usually, teachers of other subjects are asked to teach ICT as well. As a result, there aren't enough teaching hours, and in some schools, ICT is not even an independent subject. This shows that the government is not determined to improve a basic ICT education of students. Some teachers are of the view that the curriculum is too outdated. Students are only taught how to use Excel and Word in S4, and this shows that the curriculum is out of step with modern day development. So ICT subjects in schools are not able to enhance students' knowledge in this area. We have the Digital 21 strategy review in Hong Kong. The government knows that there is something wrong with IT education in schools, and has decided to teach programming to students, and this enrichment program is launched to rectify the situation. I'm not against the program, but this policy favors the elite, and I think this approach is not commendable. Take South Korea as an example. Their president announced that in 4 years' time, primary, junior, and secondary school will have a new compulsory subject on software development. This will enhance, and the country will enhance teacher training on software development. Singapore made computer a compulsory subject in primary and secondary schools so that all students will learn programming language. As for Israel, starting from 1990, it is already give the same importance to ICT as other science subjects, and resources are provided to achieve that goal. In Hong Kong, some school principals said that software development or programming should be included as part of the regular curriculum, although some principles are against this view. However, I believe we should provide more resources and to enhance students' knowledge of programming. And I think this is the direction taken by many governments in the world. To enhance students' IT knowledge, the curriculum and the content must be modernized, and it must be an independent project. There should be sufficient teaching hours, and facilities in schools should be upgraded. This includes providing a Wi-Fi connection and software in applications, and there should be more dedicated teachers for this subject. There should be continuous education programs so that teachers' knowledge can be kept abreast, and they can learn new knowledge and enhance the applicability of this subject to motivate students. Take South Korea as an example. Although it would want to turn software programming into a compulsory subject, it has also increased the number of teachers. By enhancing the quality of teachers, this will ensure that IT education can be popular. We must, if we want to introduce a new strategy and also this enrichment program, we must have more resources for teacher training. By enhancing, to enhance students' IT knowledge, we should not just teach them web processing and the use of different apps. We should prepare them for future possible reforms. We know that in every aspect of our daily life, we need the application of IT. IT will be more and more widely used in different sectors of society. No matter how hard we try to equip them with new knowledge and theories, they will be overtaken by new developments sooner or later.
So we are lagging behind the speed of development in the IT sector. That's why through IT education, we have to enhance the students' confidence in using INT devices so that they would be able to better grasp the technology so that they can learn by themselves, and then they'll be able to develop their own sense for IT development. Despite the fact that the administration is trying to set up the INT Bureau, and as a result, the enrichment program's funding has been singled out and incorporated in the budget, I do not agree with this move. But then, in order to promote the diversified development in our economy, that's been something that I've been advocating for years, including the local universities and enterprises R&D. But then, if you just look at the investment in IT education by the government, well, establishing the I&T Bureau is not going to help. Well, for the primary and secondary schools curriculum, and also the curriculum structure is also problematic, and the Education Bureau has also refused the suggestion that for the GCICOs schools that has not been increased, and there is also no dedicated teacher for training I&T, and no professional training has also been offered. And even for elitist approach, well, at the university level, the administration announced this year that 6 designated universities will be offered some $24 million. So it's about $4 million each in order to encourage IT development so that they can nurture more IT talents. But then for $4 million each, well, this is really laughable. So it's just a token of appreciation rather than actual subsidy. In fact, according to the head of a local computer group, he said that well, to set up a center, at least it would cost some $2 or $3 million, and after deducting the overlays, then that would not really help commercialize some of the R&D products. So if the administration is sincere in developing I&T and commercialization of products, then it should have put in at least 10 times the current amount. So by adopting this approach on I&T education, and if in terms of investment we are investing much less than our neighbors, then how can we nurture talents, and how can the public recognize the importance of IT education, and how are we able to enable parents and students to be rest assured that they would enroll into I&T subjects. So even if they go for IT disciplines in universities, well, what kind of prospect would that offer? So why would they go for this rather than medical and legal studies? In fact, in South Korea, they've already set this target of taking up some 20% of the global communications network, and to achieve this target, they've put in some $470 million in order to develop the necessary network. So these are high-end technologies. So the administration claims that we are moving forward, and we will have to move ahead of others. But then, well, what exactly does it mean by adopting this innovative mind? If you look at the ambition of the South Korean government in developing I&T, and also its determination, and also the visionary approach it has adopted in education. And when we look at ourselves, in terms of the I&T fund, we have injected some $5 billion so that $24 million will be offered to universities for R&D, and also communications education, so that we can nurture this culture. So I think we should feel ashamed or embarrassed by this. So these are things that cannot be resolved by merely setting up the I&T Bureau. The Education Bureau and other departments will have to work together so that the public can see that the administration is committed in developing I&T. Only then will we be able to change culture, so that students and parents will be prepared to put in efforts and time to join training for I&T, and also the enrichment program at secondary schools will be able to yield results. The administration will only be setting up this steering committee, so that in 2017 and 18 it would be reviewing the result and effectiveness. I hope that in exploring the way forward for the enrichment program, the administration must come up with the specific measures to improve I&T education, and it should consult the stakeholders before it implements it, instead of just focusing on elitist education without taking heed of the basic education for ordinary students. These are my remarks. Ms. Sito. Thank you, Mr. Deputy. In this part, I've moved 2 funding applications which should have been discussed at the FC, and now is bundled with the budget, and it has to be approved together with the other parts. So I'd like to talk about Head 55, Subhead 700. So it's Amendment 567. So first of all, let me share with you the substance of it. So it's about the Hong Kong Design Center, so that in the next 4 years, that is from 2015 to 2019, a total of $80 million will be given to the Design Center for its operations. Mr. Deputy, when you set up a public body, it will have a lot to do with this design center, because as we can see, the government would very much like to go for I&T development, and this year it has even set aside a program for sending designers abroad, and this $80 million has also been bundled up with the budget so that it would be approved together with the budget. But then whether it's the cultural sector who for people in the creative industry, or those who are involved in enterprises, for example, Mr. Lam Tai Fai, Mr. Jeffrey Lam, they are entrepreneurs in actual manufacturing and production. They all believe that the administration has not done enough, because in the process, we are not just talking about design. Yes, design will start from education. You will have to start from a young age, and you will also have to create an atmosphere which would encourage creativity and innovation, and you also have to have diversified materials so that the designers can look at those materials, and then they would get the inspiration from those materials, and then they would come up with the drawings and so on. And we also have to have a production line behind it before we can support such creativity, or else after designers have designed these things, they have to be translated into actual productions. But then the administration has not done this very important part. They are only focusing on the early part and also the later part. All right, this design center was set up in 2010, and last time it was given $70 million for 3 years operation. So it's from 2010 to 2012 to 2015, and LegCo was involved in the funding proposal, and in making the approval, we asked a lot of questions, and a lot of follow-up replies have to be provided by the administration before funding was approved. Probably because of this, this year Mr. Felix Chung has got the money. That is for the development of the textile industry and training for the sector. But then, as you can see, when the design what does this design center do? All right, they would organize design competition. They would also try to attract investors by organizing international competitions, and also for they also run the PMQ, so that they would lease some of the premises to the small enterprises or the designers studio, so that they would use that as the retail premises. But then you've been talking about encouraging the development of the creative industry, and yet if you look at the figures, they are only accounting for no more than 5% of our GDP. So Mr. Peter Cheung was referring to the hard target for the creative industry. It's a far cry from what they've been doing. I think the administration is only looking for results, so they would just be doing some window dressing. All right, on the one hand, they said that it's good to do design and innovation, because we can use the minimum space, and then we can achieve the maximum result. So it's almost like coming up with a drawing, and they do not see that there is a need for a production line to support such creativity or such designs. And also, the administration is also very worried about creative talents, because when we have creative talents, they would think out of the box, and they would not go by the norms, because if you go by the norms, then you would not have any creativity, because there is no need for you to be creative. So if you look at the inherent disposition, they would challenge the authorities. So it's like several months ago when we had the umbrella movement downstairs, we had a lot of creative products that were there, but that when the administration saw this, they would be scared So it's almost like something at the back. All right, you'd like to get the economic benefit, but then you're also worried about the talents or the creators' innovation. That's why you're offering just little gifts here and there. So you're telling them that you should not have any fantasy about me supporting you, and so designers are very creative, and they would not be subject to straitjackets. So if you do not offer them with genuine training, if you do not offer them a workshop to test their products, and if you do not give them the production line, and if you just help them to do the drawing and do the initial design, then whatever resources that you're put in, they are not going to yield any concrete result. Mr. Deputy, I'd like to share this example with you, which you are all familiar with. Well, the Design Center, up till this very day, has yet to come up with a materials library. All right, in the audit report in 2008, the Audit Commission said that they had some infrastructure projects which were delayed, and one of them was the Design Resources Center, and the Audit Commission might not be fully aware of what it is all about because they are accountants, and so they do not know what this is all about. So what is the response then? They said that they originally would like to set up a materials center so that there would be a collection of all materials, so you can have samples of all the latest materials, so that for those in the design sector, they can go there and take a look when they consider what materials they can use, and that would also help boost their imagination. And this project, in 2004 and 2005, $1.8 million was set aside for that purpose, but then after studying for several years, they thought that they would need a few $1,000,000. So that's the response by the Design Center to the Audit Commission. So they instead they built a library. Well, why bother to do it in 2008 then? Because in 1673, during the Ming Dynasty, there was already a scholar whose name was Song Ying-sing, and he wrote a book, and he recorded more than 100 different materials, and also the processing material and how they can be processed. He even put in some diagrams to show how that can be done. So now you're working on this library is just a waste of time. And now it's 2015. Still, we haven't got a sizable material center. On the contrary, all right, you're using public money, and you think that it's too expensive, and yet you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and you said that you would like to nurture designers, but then for the hardware and infrastructure, you're not going to work on it. And now some $80 million will be given to the Design Center. You're actually putting the cart before the horse. You're only willing to do some window dressing instead of doing some concrete basic work. So the $80 million is bound to be wasted. All right, with a materials resource center, how should it be like? All right, in September, we had a deputation to Scandinavia, and they have a multi-party government, and of course we went to Finland to look at what they've been doing. Together with the business sector, they set up a design center.
And there was a materials library, and it didn't cost them a few $1,000,000. The area is about 300 square feet, and there is only one staff member there. Mr. Charles Mock also visited that library. So they this library has close liaison with leading manufacturers like Bayer in Germany, and so these leading enterprises do send their materials to this library. So how come our library is going to cost so much. The Federation of Industries in 2012 set up a center for plastic materials. So that was set up by the business sector. Why is it that the government has not set up a materials library? In fact, there are different types of materials, metal, leather, and so on and so forth. The government knows only how to invite tenders and according to the audit report, when officials went on overseas visits, they did not fill in all the relevant forms afterwards, and it was said that the sponsored companies did not file their returns within the 3-month period. Yes, such audit studies are needed because we do not want to see any conflict of interest, but I don't think creativity can be nurtured through rectifying all these. But then the value for money studies, in fact, are the same for all types of activities. So in Finland, we saw the materials library, which didn't cost too much and was effective. And in South Korea, they are also encouraging the development of creative industries. We are lagging far behind. This design center cannot really catch up with what others are doing. There are about 30 members being appointed. Is it that they haven't given you any of their expert advice? Yes, of course. There are rules and requirements like inviting bids if the sum exceeds a certain amount. So the design center still hasn't provided the materials library when the business sector has also already set up its own center for plastics or plastic materials. Now, Professor Chen Kai-ming talked about educational reforms. He said that exams were like weighing the pigs. And if you want the pigs to be fat, you have to feed them. You can't just weigh them a few times a day without feeding them. They won't become fat pigs. So you have to make wise use of resources. And in the next 5 years, $80 million will be injected into the design center. I think all such money will go down the drains. And some say that we should be sending more local designers to overseas internships. But then when they come back, they need to have the support of manufacturing lines. They can draw sketches, but then how can they turn their design into garment products? And even if we can have a sample, then how can we have mass production? Why is it that we can't have factories in Hong Kong so that our low-skilled workers or low-income workers can benefit? So the government just does as in window dressing work. According to the government, the Hong Kong Design Center is the best. It ranks first in Hong Kong. Of course, there are no other centers. So the government is so arrogant. How can we see very good development of our creative industries? Ms. Claudia Mo. Mr. Gary Fan and I have set up this two-person group, and over 2 years ago we started advocating restricting the number of visitors under the individual travelers scheme. We think Hong Kong is a very small city. It is densely populated, and we can't really cope with so many visitors from the mainland. But then the government's solutions are providing more hotel rooms, providing more tourist attractions, and then providing more other facilities. And now the government has decided to use more public money to step up publicity in the mainland, telling mainlanders how attractive Hong Kong is as a tourist destination. So Wai-yip only is concerned about how to please Beijing. He is willing to sell Hong Kong people down the river. We're talking about the number of visitors, 60 million visitors to Hong Kong a year, and 50 million of them are from the mainland, and about half of the 50 million do not spend a night in Hong Kong. So these are parallel goods traders. They are not tourists or visitors according to international definitions. According to international definitions, tourists means overnight visitors. Wai-yip did say some time ago that he would have some discussions with Beijing on cutting the number of individual travelers, and then perhaps he was asked to shut up, and so when he came back, he only said that in fact during certain holidays the number of mainland visitors dropped. Ms. Claudia Mo, I've reminded many members that this is a debate on the budget, on the appropriation bill, and this is not a debate on a policy. So please speak on the amendment. I want to delete the item to spend tens of millions of dollars to promote Hong Kong in the mainland as a tourist destination. And I am explaining to you, Chairman, why I want to delete this funding item, and that's because Hong Kong can't cope anymore. We simply cannot cope. And then the 1st of May, Golden Week, there was an increase instead of a decrease in the number of mainland visitors. And the Wai-yip government was silent on the phenomenon. And in 1 month, there was a 10% drop in the number of mainland visitors, and many people were expressing concerns and worries. We have to make good use of public funds. What can go up can go down. So numbers sometimes go up, they sometimes go down. But then the government is telling Hong Kong people that figures do not lie. And so the government interprets the available figures to its advantage. And government is saying that it needs to spend tens of millions of dollars to promote Hong Kong as a tourist destination, especially in the mainland. Now, in the recent so-called Golden Week, the number of tourists went up by 14%. The government is very concerned about figures and numbers. So why hasn't the government said or anything about this? Now we have been objecting, protesting, and now we have 1 trip per week. Previously, these people came 4 to 5 times a week to Hong Kong, and now these people may come 7 days a week before their present endorsements or visas expire. All right, so previously, one person, A, came a few times a week. But then with the new arrangement, 1 trip per week, A will get B, C, D, E, F, G to all come once a week. So, but the government is telling us that we should be very grateful because of this new arrangement. In the first 2 months of this year, the number of arrivals per month was 11 million. In other words, a daily average of 186,000. Hong Kong is such a densely populated city. In Taiwan, they set a daily cap of 5,000. But then concerning the total number of arrivals per day, in Hong Kong, the number is double that in the UK. And the figure is 3 to 4 times the corresponding figures in South Korea and Japan, and 8 times the number of arrivals in Australia. So how can we cope? Those living in the mid-levels and on the peak may not feel the pain. They don't think the individual traveller scheme has affected them in any way. And of course, they're not affected by parallel goods trading activities. This government likes to be at loggerheads with the public. The public are complaining that there are too many visitors, and they are telling you that they want more visitors to come to Hong Kong. So what sort of government is this? Year after year, the number of arrivals goes up. In 2012, mainland arrivals up 24%, 2013, 17% year on year. And then 2014, last year, up 16%. The CY Leung government keeps saying that there are some LegCo members scaring tourists away in Tsim Sha Tsui. But the reality was that during the recent Golden Week, the number of visitors increased. The number increased by over 10%. So this government doesn't work for the well-being of Hong Kong. It merely wants to suppress opposition. CY Leung only knows how to please the Beijing authorities. And according to the Tourism Board, since July 2003, when the IVS was implemented, there were occasions when, or 16 occasions, when there was a drop in the number of visitors from the mainland. But between 2003 to 2014, on 16 occasions, there were year-on-year or month-on-month drops in the number of visitors. But then the SAR government just picked out 1 month when there was a drop in the number of mainland visitors, and government says that we need to promote Hong Kong as a place of hospitality.
The tourism industry accounts for only 4.7%, less than 5% of our GDP. But they put it as if without tourists from the mainland, the whole city would collapse. Let me put it the other way around. If you do not limit the number of IVS, Hong Kong will sink. This is what Mr. Gary Fan has been saying for 2 years, and yet the government has turned a deaf ear and blind eye to this fact. It doesn't care. Real tourism is to let visitors know how hospitable we are, and also our culture. According to International Tourism Organization, they say that we do have some basic conditions for to make a good tourism destination. For instance, we have a beautiful skyline, and we have excellent infrastructure. These are modern infrastructure, beautiful. Yes, our night scene is really stunning, but do we have any culture and taste? Now, if you look at our score in heritage, cultural heritage, we score 0. This is because Hong Kong should be a place where the East meets West. Hong Kong was once a British colony for 150 years. Our characteristics are one of its kind and unique in this world, and yet you can see that almost all special architecture has been pulled down, so that here we have a new shopping mall, and there we have Western style new tourism attraction. Do we have something beautiful and Chinese? Yes, perhaps. For instance, at Wan Chai Tinok Lane, we have a golden dragon, which has turned Hong Kong into the largest Chinatown in the world. Ms. Claudia Mo, I think you have digressed too far away from your amendment. Chairman, I believe what I say here is relevant. Tourism may not be the life of blood of Hong Kong's economy. However, this appropriation bill will squander money, causing disasters to our tourism and causing resentment on the part of our people. And this is a major problem. I hope that our tourism industry will not be distorted by the government using public money. We don't have a way out. I hope we will not become a place where real foreigners don't want to come to see anymore. If you think that foreigners want to see golden dragons, perhaps you should place a golden dragon at all 18 districts. We no longer have our own culture and our own uniqueness. If you do this in order to please mainlanders, you have really let down our history and our culture. The bus stop at Tsim Sha Tsui was once planned to be redeveloped. The proposal was to pull it down and to build some special icon to attract visitors. Yes, I attended many meetings discussing that. A Roman-style fountain to be built there, and the clock tower at Tsim Sha Tsui should stay there. Will visitors travel all the way from other parts of the world to see a Roman-style fountain here? Obviously, this is a design to please the mainlanders. Hong Kong has been a renowned tourism attraction. I think this gentleman keeps disturbing me. Ms. Claudia Moore, I'm of the view that your remarks are very far away from your amendment. Please come back to your amendment. Chairman, you may criticize me, but then the gentleman there has been making noises, and I find that very strange. May I remind members that when another member is speaking, please keep quiet. All right, Chairman. What if he continues to do that? Members, please keep quiet. And Ms. Claudia Mo, you may go on. Thank you, Chairman. Our tourism industry must carry on with our 100-year of hospitality. We should keep our smiles. We have to tell our foreigners that we're still a happy city. and our tourism industry cannot be distorted in this way by the government. We must insist on our own stance. We must keep our own culture, our own style, and our characteristics. We are not just one of small cities in mainland. We may be small in size, but we are very strong in spirit and in determination. Thank you. Dr. Fernando Zhang.